Hi guys, John the Inkyvaper here, and tonight we're going to be talking about the Hastur V2. I've got it on the DNA 200 here. As you may know if you've seen my video on the original Hastur, I was a big fan of that RDA, and it was so when Cthulhu announced that they were bringing out the V2, I was very interested in it. There's a few differences that we'll see when we go up close. Main one being that it's they've got rid of the single coil option, and you've now got a velocity style deck on it. The airflow's shifted from the very top to the sides, but it's still got that sort of diagonal inner chamber that directs the air and down the side of the chamber and into the coil at the side. So what we'll do is we'll go down, go and have a quick look at the up close on this, and then we'll come back and I'll give you my thoughts on it. Okay, so see you in a bit. Okay, so this is the box, the packaging that the Hastur V2 RDA comes in. As you can see, nice little plastic hard shell case there. We'll just pop that open. Inside we've got a little Allen key, not the greatest, but it's okay. Bag of spares, you've got a 510 drip tip adapter. Couple of grub screws spare, some spare O-rings, and what we've also got here in this little bit here, if you can see that little hole in the end there, that is a squonk pin for the 510. So you can actually take the 510 out of this and put yourself a squonking pin, bottom fed pin in it. Now I don't own a squonking mod at the moment. Hopefully that's going to be rectified fairly soon, or at some point anyway. So that we're just going to leave that in there for now. What I've got here is the actual RDA itself. Okay, there's nothing else in there. Just pop all this gubbins back in here. Keep the Allen key off to one side. And get rid of the box. Okay, so here we have the Hastur V2. Now it's a very squat little RDA. It measures 22mm in diameter. It's 20mm from where the tip starts, so from this part here down to the bottom. That's 20mm. I don't know what it is with the drip tip on, but it's a good another centimetre, I'd say, or half a centimetre or so. We've got adjustable airflow on the sides here, and this drip tip, as you can see, it has, if you look, I can poke a little Allen key down there. There's like this kind of little ledge, and if we look at it from the underneath, there's that ledge again, and it kind of, the bore at the bottom is wide, and then it goes narrow with this ledge here, and it's basically to stop spit back, going back into spitting juice into your mouth when you're vaping. This is incredibly annoying, and so I'm going to take this opportunity while we're here to just take this out. Now I'm going to have to actually cut it out, I believe, because I don't think it'll just snap off or anything. So I'm going to actually take some flat-sided snaps and just snip through the Delrin on each of those sections, because I hate this thing that much. I like a wide bore drip tip, but I don't like a wide bore drip tip that basically that piece, as you can see, I've just cut it out. That basically acts as like a little shelf to collect condensation, and e-liquid just sits on it, and so it actually does exactly what it is, the exact opposite of what it's there to do. It creates condensation, and then eventually you will get a load of moisture and juice spat into your mouth. So so yeah, we're cutting this out. I'm just gonna chop these little tiny edges off because I don't like it. I can tidy that up later anyway. You get the idea. And now I have got a wide bore, or a wider bore drip tip that I can actually drip through into the chamber. Right, so we'll put that to one side for the minute. Here's the outer casing for the Hastur V2. I'll just pop that out, and as you can see, big Cyclops style airflow holes on either side. The previous Hastur, which I'll just get out actually, previous Hastur had its airflow at the very top. This is obviously now at the sides. It's actually, the Hastur V2 is actually slightly shorter. The chamber is actually a little bit more compact than the original. If I can hold it so you can see it, it actually sits quite a bit lower than the original there. The mouthpiece on that was kind of similar bore maybe, and it had that silly rifling in it. Now the original, pull the deck off, it had single airflow, airflow for a single coil build, and it got the old 4-post deck. So we'll just pop that to one side. So here, if you see, we've got a similar kind of inner chamber, like airflow chamber, like the Hastur, the original, but this one it's dual coil only. They've done away with the single coil, and to be honest, I'm not really a single coil kind of guy anyway, so it doesn't really bother me. The machining on this part it's okay. I think it's better than the original, but these edges around here, especially up round the top here, are really quite sharp, and if you're not careful you can actually sort of quite badly scratch or cut yourself, so be careful. The inside of here is actually very well machined and very good. It did come with a fair amount of machine oil on it, but not horrendous amounts. A quick clean and it was pretty much alright, but it was quite stinky when I first got it. So there's the 510 pin that you can just take out and put in the squonk pin that you're after. Got the Hastur and a 2, and then the serial number down the bottom. And as you can see, we've got a velocity style deck. Woo, there's an original thought. Yeah, pretty much all RDAs and RTAs these days seem to be coming with this 2-post velocity style deck. Now the holes on this aren't the greatest, they're not the hugest. 1.6 millimeters in size, but you know, they're okay. Now the thing that you've got to remember with this is, because of this inner chamber that goes over, if you look over it through the top, the room that you've got inside here isn't absolutely massive. So my opinion, I think you don't want to go anything higher than a 3mm, but to be on the safe side, I tend to do a 2.5 inner diameter coils on this, just so that you've got a little bit of room between the wall and the actual this inner wall and the build that you've got in there. With it being a velocity deck, it's a piece of cake to build. Obviously, you just pop your coils in there, Allen grub screws. They're quite decent. They're not stripped yet. So yeah, just pop your build in like you would do a normal velocity build. making sure obviously that you test for shorts and make sure that this airflow sort of section isn't touching either of your coils, because obviously that will cause a dead short and that's not a good thing. So I'll just pop this all back together. What I'll do then is I will put a build in this, and we'll go back up top once I've got a build in it, and I'll give you my thoughts on the Hastur V2. But as you can see, quite a dinky little thing, and I think it's going to be it's going to perform a lot better with that middle section just taken out there, and I'm going to be able to do what I like with these kind of RDAs, which is just drip straight down the middle and feed my build through that way. Okay, so I'll get this built and wicked, and we'll go back up top and I'll give you some thoughts. See you in a bit. Welcome back, guys. I've got the build that we did in the up close in here now. It's stainless steel build coming out at dual coiled. I did it on a 2.75 mil in diameter in the end. 9 wraps came out at 0.25 of, what is it, 0.5 316L. Really nice vape, really good in temperature control, or in that's the beauty of the stainless steel builds, is you can use this in normal wattage as well. But I am actually, surprisingly, thanks to Dean the Vaping Biker, I'm actually getting quite into the temperature control with stainless steel, especially on the DNA and the M class. It's very good. So what do I think of this little bugger? Well, now I've got rid of that little shelf anti-spitback thing that just basically just collected all the juice, made it very noisy, and just basically just collected moisture and just spat it in my mouth at random occasions. It's actually performing very well indeed. So my advice would be to do what I did in the up close, and that's just snip the 3 little legs off. Excuse me, I seem to be a bit windy all of a sudden. Yeah, just snip those 3 legs off and take that out if you don't like it. If you like it, if you get on all right with it, then that's fine. But generally speaking, I think that the issue with spitback on any RDA is down to your coiling and your wicking. If you get that right, you shouldn't get spitback anyway. And obviously, you know, if you over drip, you're going to get a certain amount of spitback. So you can avoid that by just building correctly and just playing with it, and just really get your wicking right, get your coils right, and you shouldn't have an issue with spitback anyway. In my opinion, I very rarely have any issues with spitback on RDAs. So that aside, how much of an improvement over the original one is this? Well, I'd say if you've got the original and you don't mind just get rid of that. If you've got the original and you don't mind the 4 posts, and you quite like the option to be able to do a single coil, then you could stick with the original, to be honest. The flavour and the vape production, I'd say it's probably a little bit airier than the original, so there's a little bit more, especially with that guard taken out. There is a little bit more air in this one compared to the other one. I like the fact that the airflow has been moved to the sides rather than the top, because the one on the original, with it being on the top, I used to get my tash hairs caught in there, and that used to irritate the crap out of me. I think the flavour is on par, probably maybe a little bit better, and I think that's down to the fact that the chamber is that much more reduced. With having the velocity dual post design, it is a lot easier to build on. There is a bit more room. It's easier to wick as a result as well. The cons on this thing, same as the original really. If you're one of these people who pulls your top cap on and off in order to drip. You've got this inner chamber, and what happens is after a certain amount of time you'll get a certain amount of condensation build up in between this chamber, the outer chamber, and your inner chamber on the outside here. And so as you're pulling this on and off, you'll get a certain amount of juice will get sort of like forced down and onto the top of your mod there, and it can be irritating. So what I tend to do with this and with the previous one is either take the drip tip out and drip through it, or just drip just straight through, and with it being a velocity deck and a top airflow, you can just sort of just squeeze the juice in there and it'll get there. So that's a con though for me. The two walls, the inner wall and the outer wall, getting that condensation in there, it does get messy after a while, and you do need to sort of give it a good wipe out every now and again just to make sure that it doesn't get too sloppy. The other thing, and this is something that the original one suffered from as well, is when you go to unscrew your mod, it's doing it at the moment because it's not particularly juicy, because I've only just built it and I've only just started vaping it again, but the outer cap just spins, and it doesn't actually undo the device from your mod, so it's a pain. You have to take the whole thing off, take the top off, take the outer case off, take the inner case off, and then sort of grab hold of it and get yourself all covered in juice just to pull the take the RDA off the mod. Pros on this one, obviously, as I said before, as I said earlier rather, the flavour on this is really good. It's on a par with the original one, and that's one of the things I did like about the original Hastur, is the fact that it's such a nice flavour. There is a bit more air on this, so that's another pro for those of you who like lots of air. I mean, it's not by any means a sort of a cloud chasing dream or anything like that, but there is plenty of air. It's a good lung hit from it. Not particularly restricted, but it's got that little bit of restriction, which I quite like anyway. So yeah, in general, it's very well made. I love the fact that they've included the squonk pin, even though I don't have a squonking mod myself yet. I do intend to get one, so the fact that they've included that in with the sort of spares kit is great, because it's just another sort of string to its bow. It's a good looking little thing. I'm glad that they didn't put any logos or any kind of designs on the outer casing this time round. The original, where has it gone again? Had got the Hastur written on it, and it wasn't the greatest laser engraving anyway. And I think it just looks nice because it's a nice, clean, sleek looking little device. The drip tip is a nice fit. It's not too huge and it's not too small. And obviously with the 510 adapter, you can pop that in there and put your own 510 drip tips in there as well. But I personally think it looks a bit funny with those, and to be honest, I quite like the drip tip the wide bore that it comes with. So on the whole, it's a cracking little RDA. It comes out at about, I think it's between 20-25 £5, the similar kind of price to I think it was about £22 when I bought it. I can't remember how much it cost me now. I meant to do this review quite a while ago, but I was really ill last week. I was going to do it last week, and unfortunately I was really ill with the flu, so I couldn't get this done before now. So but yeah, it's a cracking little device. If you're after a nice, easy to build on, decent flavoured RDA, with the ability, if you're going to go for a squonking device at some point, then you've got a decent little RDA that can squonk as well. It's another, in my opinion, it's another good product from Cthulhu. Some of the machining's a little bit sharp on that inner casing, which we saw on the close up there, but in general it's pretty well made. It's pretty well put together. There wasn't a huge amount of machine oil this time round, although, you know, more than I would have liked to have seen, to be perfectly honest with you. But on the whole, if you're after a nice compact one of these little mini RDAs, you wouldn't go far wrong by going with something like this. And like I say, if you've had the original and you want something a little bit similar, very similar, but with a slightly easier build deck, then you know, again, it's a definite improvement on the original, I think. Okay, so, well, on the whole, I think it's a thumbs up on this one. We'll leave it there, and if you've liked the video, please press like, and if you want to see more from me, as always, click on the subscribe button. That'd be great, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.